Hey, Paulette, you made it. You're on mute.
Oh, there you go. Hi, how are you?
I think I sound even worse than you.
I think you do. I think you do. Yeah.
I've had this darn thing for almost 3 weeks now.
Oh, mine's just been a couple days, but they actually sent me home from work today because they didn't want me spreading germs.
Yeah, I called into the city clerk, and Kathleen cracked me up. She was like, "No, don't come into City Hall. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you feel okay. You're gonna freak people out." And that was exactly her words.
Well, and I took a COVID test and that was negative, so that's good. But yeah,
Negative.
that was good. So
Yep. Well, see, I got it from my husband, and he took a COVID test twice, and it was both negative. I think it's just a really, really nasty bug going around.
So I'm glad I can still participate because I felt bad not being able to come.
All right. I will stop hurting people's ears with my terrible voice.
Okay, I now call the May 3rd, 2022 Planning Commission meeting to order. For the audience tonight, the City of Glendora utilizes a hybrid meeting format to allow for participation both in person and virtually. In consideration of others in the business conducted tonight, please silence your phones and any electronic device and refrain from speaking unless recognized. This is a public meeting for the community of Glendora. We appreciate and respect your participation here this evening. Tonight, we have in attendance Commissioner Norwood, Commissioner Becerra, via Zoom, Vice Chair Koss, and myself, Commissioner Davis. I would now like to ask Commissioner Norwood to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Commissioner Norwood. Does anyone wish to reorder or add to the agenda this evening? Okay, seeing nothing, then we will move on to the public comment. I will now open the public comment period. I now invite members of the public to address the Planning Commission. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes, speaking once, both on and off agenda items. All questions should be directed through me, the presiding officer. This is your time to speak uninterrupted. If you are in attendance, please fill out a speaker card and submit it to the recording admin before the close of the public comment period. Once recognized, speakers should advance to the podium, state your name and the subject matter you wish to discuss. If you are participating via Zoom, select the raised hand icon in Zoom before the close of the public comment period. Once recognized, you will receive a request to unmute, state your name and subject matter you wish to discuss. Is there anybody in attendance who would like to speak tonight? Okay,
you.
seeing nobody, do we have any Zoom participants or correspondences been received?
Thank you. We've received no requests via the Zoom meeting and none received via the public comment email to give public comment at this time.
Okay, thank you. With that, I will close the public comment period, which leads us to commissioner statement reports. Do any of the commissioners have anything to report, statements or reports? Okay, seeing none, that leads us to director, staff, liaison, and attorney statements. I now invite Community Development Director Mark Carnahan to provide any statements, if he has any.
Director Jeff Kugel and City Planner Mark Carnahan do not.
Okay. Assistant City Attorney Lana Lehman, provide a statement.
All I will say is that I really wish I could be there with you in person, but as you can hear, I probably not. I don't want to get anybody sick with what is not COVID, but is a very nasty cold.
We're sorry to hear that and thankful that you're not here infecting us. Okay, so that leads us to special items. I now call on Transportation Manager Steve Mateer to report.
Yep. Good evening, commissioners. And thank you, Chair. My name is Stephen Mateer. I am the Transportation Manager for the City of Glendora. We want to give you an update on the People Movement Project, which I think some of you might be familiar with, which is our urban trails and first last mile program that we have. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, this is a combination which started with our urban trails, right? This was a development of the 3 flood control channels that go through the city. We have a current trail along Louis Pompey Park. And that has also led into, with the Gold Line coming into the city, development of first last mile. And what first last mile is, that's how people get to and from a train station or a bus stop. Subsequent to those 2 separate efforts, we had an opportunity to apply for a federal earmark. And as a result of that, we've combined these 2 projects since there's a lot of synergy and they really feed into each other. And we're calling this now the People Movement Project. And so the picture you see there, that is an example of first last mile improvements with a raised bike lane, more outdoor dining, really more of a pedestrian feel, what we're going for. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, the urban trails, what these are separated and they're called class 1, if you want to sound really fun and technical. These are bicycle and pedestrian paths that go along the flood control channels in the city. They have about 12-foot wide path with landscaping. You can put benches, trash receptacles. Really, these are a great way, not only for recreation, but for transportation. As I mentioned, we currently have about a mile segment along the San Dimas Wash that wraps around Louis Pompey Park. We are in the process of designing phase 2 and 3, which will take that all the way to Grand Avenue. We're also looking at doing the same type of project on Big Dalton and Little Dalton washes. Next slide, please. As I mentioned with the first last mile, this is looking at how an individual would go from, say, their house to the metro station. And then once they're off the metro or bus or foothill transit, how they complete their trip to either their work, school, education, medical appointments. And really this can be done through a variety of means, right? It doesn't just mean walking or biking. It can mean driving. It could mean taking the bus. It could be on a walker or even like a mobility device, right? There are a lot of people that use personal mobility devices to get around. So really it's thinking about the totality of how everyone moves to the city. Next slide, please. And the long-term goals we have with our first last mile is to really connect the station to the Glendora village. For those that may not know, the station in Glendora is behind those townhomes off of Vermont and Ada. So someone coming into Glendora may not know where the village is. It may not be apparent once you get off the train station. The idea here is to have a very seamless, intuitive connection from the train station to bring visitors up to the village. They can, you come to our nice restaurants, come to the services and great amenities that we have. It's also to improve with road safety. We know from surveys from other stations, Metro Rail is primarily accessed by walking and biking. So we are looking at how do we improve road safety with what we anticipate is going to be increased walking and biking around the station area. And lastly is taking advantage of the economic development that comes with rail stations. We know that developers like rail stations, that they're very attractive. And so are there ways that we can have strategic economic development, like new restaurants coming in, new retail in the station area? So we're really trying to catalyze on all this energy that's coming in to the station. Next slide, please. So as part of this, the council identified 4 corridors for priority. The main 2 are Glendora Avenue and Foothill Boulevard. These include, so on Glendora Avenue, a raised protected bike lane, a protected intersection, which I'll note would be the first in the San Gabriel Valley. So we are really on the cutting edge here with our bike planning. A roundabout at Ada and Glendora, crossing improvements at, I believe that is Carroll and Glendora Avenue, wayfinding signage, and bus stop improvements. Foothill Boulevard would go from the college to about City Hall at Vista Bonita. That would also include bike lanes, crossing improvements, and wayfinding and various bus improvements. Next slide, please. I'm gonna walk through the renderings now. This is to kind of give you an idea of what we're talking about. So this is existing at Glendora and Ada. Next slide. And here's a picture with the roundabout and the landscaping and the bike lane and the crossing enhancements that you see here. Again, this is something that we've put out into the community. Has surprised me even the amount of support we had for a roundabout. They're not always the most popular, but given that this intersection it's kind of in that gray area where it's not busy enough for a traffic signal, but it's probably a little bit too busy for that stop sign. I'm sure if any of us have walked across there to go to the post office, cars are not really stopping there. There's a lot of rolling through there. So this is kind of that nice middle spot that allows vehicles to move through in an efficient manner, but also slows it down a little bit for pedestrian safety. Next slide, please. This is existing looking south on Glendora Avenue. Next slide. And this is what you see here on the left is the raised protected bike lane. We have kept the angled parking, so there will not be a parking reduction on Glendora Avenue. And we also have some opportunities for more outdoor dining potentially should new tenants move in or if there's any type of changeover with the properties along this corridor. Next slide. This is at Carroll and Glendora. Next slide. And this is what you see here again is the raised bike lane. This is an enhanced crosswalk. What we know from our surveys from the demo bike lane that we did, this is a really dangerous crossing as it is right now. It's very wide, cars go very fast here. And so what we really want to do is have a safe place for people to cross the street here with an enhanced crosswalk and curb extensions. Next slide. This is Foothill and Glendora today. Next slide. And this is with the protected intersection. So what you see here are those floating islands. And what that allows is for bicyclists to not compete with cars to either turn left or if cars are turning right. It moves the conflict to the crosswalk where there's much more visibility and safety, both for motorists and walkers and bikers. And the idea here is that everything moves with the traffic flow all at once. And this is considered the safest intersection design for all modes. And the idea here is this would link with the bike lane and the other first last mile improvements on Foothill. Next slide. This is Grand and Foothill, which as you drove by today is interesting. I actually biked through it today and it was hairy on my bike. So we're hopefully gonna make it not as exciting. Next slide, please. And this is with the Flyover Bridge once it's completed. And what you see, the green paint, that's the bike lane. And those are some of the enhanced crosswalks that you see, the Continental crosswalks and some more landscaping. Next slide. So this is further down Foothill Boulevard, just past Grand, looking towards Vista Bonita. Next slide. And here you see, this is what's called a buffered bike lane. So you have paint as a buffer with the bike lane. So similar on like Arrow Highway, for example, maintain the side street parking. And this is, again, one of the improvements to help people go to and from Citrus College to the village. Next slide. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Oh, sorry, Lorena. One more, there you go. Mhm. Mhm. Correct, yeah, so we're maintaining the street parking, yeah. No, yeah, sorry, the striping, yeah, the striping is a little bit confusing, and one of the things that, these are very in the conceptual phases, so as we move forward, something we could look at doing is actually adding a physical barrier there to better delineate the bike lane. That's an option. We have a lot of ways to kind of look at how to better clean that up. I agree that from this picture, it can be a little confusing. Yeah. Mhm.
And that will be reduced to one lane into each direction?
Correct. This will make Foothill one lane each direction, the entire length. So from Lone Hill to Citrus. So it'll be a consistent lane configuration. Because right now, so Foothill goes from,
Isn't it 2 lanes down to Barranca?
it goes no, actually, this is why Foothill is one of the interesting corridors. So if you're going westbound on Foothill, once you get past Vista Bonita, it goes to 2 lanes all the way to Citrus. The eastbound lane goes 2 at Branca, goes to 1 around like Valencia, I think. And then it comes back out to 2 all the way to about Vermont. And then you have the slip lane out here. So there are some, especially in the eastbound lane, you do have it go from 2 to 1 to 2 again, and then back to 1. So this would make it a consistent lane arrangement.
Commissioner Norwood, if you wouldn't mind, unmuting yourself and point the mic to you so you can speak.
Oh, sorry. So it'd be 1 lane all the way down to the end of Foothill.
Right, yeah, so from Citrus to Lone Hill, Foothill Boulevard would be 1 lane each direction, yes. Mhm.
I have a question.
yeah,
What about in front of the high school? Are we gonna keep 2 lanes or is it gonna be 1 lane in front of the high school?
Sorry.
There I am. Okay, in front of the high school, are we gonna have 2 lanes or 1 lane? Because that gets pretty congested
Yeah,
in that area.
we
from
haven't
about-
looked at that section. We're really only looking to the Vista Bonita because this is more focused on first last mile. But I know there is some interest in looking at from Glendora to Lone Hill because given the high schooler, there are a fair number of bicyclists. But I mean, I do drive my kid occasionally to school, and school drop-offs can be busy,
That
to
lasts
say the
a
least.
couple hours, yeah.
Yeah, and dangerous. So, I think it's, once we get this done, we'll see how it goes, and we'll probably move on to, if there's interest and desire, we could look at that section as well. Okay, I think any other questions? Sorry for move on. Okay, so at the most, remember my dates here, at a most recent council meeting, we asked for council direction on prioritization of first last mile improvements and the urban trail. And what the genesis of this ask is that in total, these projects cost $21 million. It adds about 10 miles of improvements throughout the city. And this map, as you see here, the green lines are the urban trails, orange lines are the first last mile improvements. We got $6.6 million from the COG, which was a substantial down payment on this improvement. As a result of that, we are looking to prioritize what we can deliver with that 6.6 million and the $1.5 million we have of city capital improvement program funds. And so really we asked the council to give us a set of priorities and phasing that they'd like to see. Next slide, please. We presented 4 options to council. Council selected scenario 1, which is funding Glendora Avenue, Little Dalton Wash, and completing the San Dimas Wash. There is a funding gap of about $1.8 million to $2 million to finish that with a total cost of $1.3 million. We're proceeding right now, as I mentioned, with the San Dimas Wash to finalize design on that. That is the furthest along. So we'll be completing that in about a year and going to construction there pretty shortly thereafter. The Little Daltons and Glendora Avenues are really are what we call the conceptual phase. There's a longer timeline with those projects for planning. And also I'll add to with the 1.8 million, we're actively looking for state and federal grants to close that funding gap that we have. Next slide, please. So in terms of next step, as mentioned, we've issued the notice to proceed for our designer for the San Dimas Wash. We'll be hosting workshops this summer, which will include hopefully a demonstration project along the San Dimas Wash centered on Gladstone Park. We'll also be executing our funding agreement with the SGV COG for that $6.6 million, hosting our workshops, not just for the San Dimas Wash, but for Glendora Avenue and Little Dalton Wash. We recognize that these are big changes for Glendora, and so we want to make sure there's, heavy in public engagement consistently throughout this project. And then once we have the funding agreement in place, is continuing with our design so we can complete and get ready for construction for these projects. Next slide, please. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions the commission has.
I got a couple quick ones. Early in the presentation, you mentioned in the station area. Define station area. You talked about commerce in the station area. Are you talking at the station itself or just this general area?
Sorry, I think I misspoke. I'm the periphery around.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then are any of these trails, urban trails, are they horse friendly at all?
They can be. The one that's around the San Dimas Wash is really more for walking and biking. You can do what's called a soft bottom trail, which is like a multi-use trail. That's an option as well. We can look at. I know Little Dalton, when we about 3 years ago, we're going after a parks grant, and that's one of the things we were looking at is, given the equestrian center at the north end, that was desirable to have, a place for horses to also utilize the trail.
Yeah. Okay, that's all I have.
I've asked my questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Steve, thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
We want to ask Commissioner Cost if she has any questions.
Oh, I'm sorry. Out of sight,
Sorry,
out of
Vice Chair
mind.
Cost.
No worries. I don't have any questions. I think it's going to be a really cool project.
All right, thank you.
And I could plug it. This is bike month. So we have a bunch of bike activities throughout the week. So Saturday is a community bike ride at Transportation. And then the following week, I believe, is another bike ride on the urban trail at Louis Pompey. So hopefully y'all can come out and ride our bikes together. So thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, that brings us to the public hearings portion of tonight's meeting. Item number 3, public hearing, conditional use permit application to allow an indoor amusement, entertainment use on certain property located at 529 South Glendora Avenue. This is designated as a children's indoor playground. I now declare this public hearing open, and I invite planning technician Alyssa Paleo Flores to present the staff report. Take it away.
All right. Good evening, Chair Davis and members of the commission. Before you tonight is a request for approval of a conditional use permit to allow new indoor playground / entertainment use located at 529 South Glendora Avenue, project number PLN 22-0011. Next slide, please. Staff recommends the adoption of a categorical exemption pursuant to section 15301A of CEQA and adopt a planning commission resolution approving the proposed project. Next slide, please. All right. The subject tenant space is located within a large multi-tenant commercial center, identified as Glendora Shopping Center, which is located near the intersection of Glendora Avenue and Route 66. The shopping center has shared parking throughout the site with ingress and egress from Glendora Avenue and Route 66. The multi-tenant shopping center comprises 4 separate parcels, and the subject space sits in the western portion of the center, specifically north of Ace Hardware and south of Pet Spa. The site is zoned town center mixed use with a general plan designation of Route 66 specific plan. Indoor entertainment / amusement is permitted with the CUP in this zone. The applicant is proposing a children's indoor playground known as Stay and Play. The tenant space is approximately 1,910 square feet in size. Next slide, please. All right. As previously stated, pursuant to the Glendora Municipal Code, the proposed use requires a CUP for indoor amusement / entertainment to permit the children's indoor playground within the TCMU zone. Moving forward, the following slides will include 2 site photos of the space and will then be followed by a detailed floor plan. Next slide. All right, so within this picture facing west, we are facing west upon entrance. There are 2 restrooms and a service / storage area located within the rear of the space. Next slide, please. This picture was taken facing east, facing the entrance of the tenant space. Next slide, please. All right, shown here is the proposed floor plan. The proposed playground area entails a total of 870 square feet with approximately 526 square feet of waiting area, which will include 7 tables and 14 chairs. West of the designated play area, the space will feature an inflatable bounce house, 10-foot trampoline, and a heavy-duty vinyl inflatable seesaw rocker. The existing restrooms and storage will remain. The subject tenant space was previously utilized as a fast service restaurant. The maximum number of people during peak hours will be 50 customers at a time, particularly for birthday parties. The proposed indoor children's playground will be required to comply with the Glendora Municipal Code regarding noise decibel levels within the commercial area, as the use may not produce noise that may be considered a nuisance or hazard to any adjacent spaces. As such, a condition of approval has been included that requires the plan be submitted for building plan check review and include information on the existing if deemed necessary to reduce any potential transfers of sound. Next slide, please. In terms of noticing, notices were mailed out to all property owners within a 500-foot radius. Notice was also published in the San Gabriel Valley Examiner, and to date, staff has received only 1 inquiry regarding the project, but no public opposition has been expressed. Next slide, please. All right. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission adopt a categorical exemption, and the Planning Commission resolution entitled "A Resolution of the Planning Commission Approving a Conditional Use Permit to Allow an Indoor Amusement/Entertainment Use for an Indoor Playground on certain property located at 529 South Glendora Avenue, Suite A, project number PLN 22-0011. The applicant and I are available for any questions.
Thank you very much, Elisa. Okay, at this point, I would like to ask any of my fellow, I would like to invite the applicant, Bishara Ashi, and his daughter, Natal Achi, to address the commission. You have 10 minutes to speak.
Good evening, everyone. So I'm going to go ahead and talk for me and my dad, just for the English, just a little bit easier with me. So my name is Natal, and that's my dad. I just kind of want to briefly go a little bit over how we got the idea. So I have a son, and last summer was his first birthday. We were thinking about where we wanted to have his birthday, and we searched through. My parents reside in Laverne. We looked through Laverne, San Dimas, Glendora, Pomona, a lot of different areas, and we couldn't really find anywhere that was suitable for toddlers. There's a lot of places kind of like jumping jacks in San Dimas and things like that, but those are all targeted more for older kids. And a lot of the times my son and I are always in like Finkbeiner or like parks like that, but a lot of the times the weather does affect if it's too hot, too cold, we can't always go there. So while we were trying to find out where to go, we kind of found out that there was nowhere around here in the area. The closest indoor playground I found going west was in Montebello, which is where I ended up having his first birthday. But other than that, there was nothing really around here. And we definitely thought about the park as well, about having his birthday at the park. But a lot of the times on the weekends, there's the older children. And for example, like in Finkbeiner, there's also like the skate park and other things going around. So we just kind of felt like we needed to have something like this in the area. My dad had been looking for a really good business idea. And when we were looking for a place to have my son's birthday, my dad and I were talking, and that's when he was like, that's it. This is what we need. And we love Glendora. We kind of grew up here too, always in the park and everything. So yeah, so we decided that that was kind of going to be what we were going for, an indoor playground. Are there any questions?
Commissioners?
When do you expect to be open?
as soon as we get the approval. We've actually started to kind of look into different equipment, things like that, safety. As soon as we get the okay, we can start ordering equipment and looking at safety and all of that stuff too. I'm not sure if it was mentioned before, but we also looked into things like safety and having a waiver that parents are going to sign when they bring their kids in. Parents are going to stay with their children inside. There's kind of like a little safety gate. So we've been looking into all of that and we're ready to order everything as soon as we get the okay.
So there is Kids Empire in Monrovia. There is another Kids Empire in Claremont, I think. Are you familiar with those
Yes.
places? Yeah.
Mhm.
I know that they are required to have some kind of rated equipment there if you want to look into that. But I don't know if you're going to have that kind of equipment in there. It's kind of small.
Yeah,
But-
those places are definitely a lot larger. We'll have similar equipment, but just like a smaller version, like the mazes
Yeah.
and like she mentioned, like a
I'm
little
looking
bouncy
forward
house.
to it.
and-
I think it'd be great.
Thank you.
Well, you
If I-
answered the one question I had, and that was parents would stay there. This wouldn't be like I'm sure it goes into a whole different realm of like a childcare situation.
Correct.
So, but you answered that question and I'm not really concerned or asking what you're charging, but is like at a one-time fee going in, or is it by the hour, or is it like a
Mhm.
rental fee for a number of hours, or all of the above?
Right. So it's just going to be a one-time fee that you pay. We're going to have kind of like a front desk in front of the door. So as soon as the parents and children walk in, the parents will sign the waiver, pay the fee. Children will get a little wristband so we can kind of monitor them. And yeah, they'll kind of walk through and the parents get to stay on like the table side. We'll have like a little shoe rack that the kids can put their shoes on and go in, but it's a one-time fee. And we also talked about having the place open for rent for like a birthday party or
Okay. All right. Thank you. I'm looking forward to it.
thank you.
Yeah, I
And
don't have any questions. Just great idea. We need one here.
Thank you.
And if I may very briefly ask the applicant, have you reviewed the conditions of approval for the use permit, and do you accept those?
Yes, we accept.
Thank you so much.
All right, very good. At this point, I would like to invite members of the public to address the commission. If there's, I don't see anybody in chambers here. Do we have anybody on Zoom?
Thank you, Chair. We have not received any requests from Zoom participants to give public comment or to give testimony at this time. And we received nothing via the public comment email as well.
Okay, so no emails to enter into the record, so. All right, no comment one way or the other. All right, very good. All right, so at that point, I would have invited you back up to rebuttal, but I guess I still should. Evidently, we have nothing. So at this point, I will bring it back to commission for any discussion. Any comments, commissioners? Nothing? Okay, I have nothing.
Vice Chair
Oh,
Cost.
I'm sorry. Vice Chair Cost, do you have anything
No.
for us?
Just, I think it's a great project. I'm looking forward to seeing it.
All right, very good. Okay, so we have no discussion. So at this point, I will close the public hearing and request a motion in a second.
I will make a motion, but we got a new system that I'm not completely on top of in terms of,
I can make it for him.
Oh, you haven't opened it yet.
Open.
That's why.
It's
oh,
open.
well,
No,
it's
it's-
operator error then.
Done.
I didn't.
Open the motion.
Did. That's not up. Hold on. Let me try it that way. Is it going? Okay.
No.
Thank you. Motion.
Oh, you have to open at the bottom.
I did. It's open.
There it is. See?
Okay.
So now move.
Okay.
There we go. And second. Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Norwood, a second by Commissioner Becerra. I will request a vote. And I'm going to do a roll call vote because we do have a Zoom commissioner participating. Commissioner Norwood,
Yes.
Commissioner Orsetti is absent. Commissioner Becerra, Vice Chair Koss,
Yes.
thank you. Is that not going? Okay, got it. Hold on. Here we go. We are missing a vote by Chair Davis. Can you, there we go. And there we go. And that passes 4-0-1 with 1 absence. Thank you.
All right, very good. Well, welcome to Glendora. We wish you luck. All right, so that brings us to does anyone wish to item number 4? Which one is item number 4 here? Oh, the minutes.
The calendar.
Yeah, the consent calendar. Anyone wish to comment on the consent calendar? Hearing nothing, I will request a motion and a second, please.
Okay, I'm going to do it via roll call. How's that? So a motion was made by who?
Commissioner Norwood.
Commissioner Norwood was motion and a second.
Commissioner Becerra.
Commissioner Becerra, thank you. Let's see if we can do a roll call. It won't let me open. No idea why. Okay, we're going to do a roll call vote. Commissioner Norwood,
Yes.
Commissioner Rossetti is absent. Commissioner Becerra,
Yes.
Vice Chair Koss,
Yes.
thank you, and Chair Davis.
Yes.
Thank you. And that passes 4-0.
Okay, that brings us to commissioner agenda items. Does not appear as though there are any commissioner agenda items, unless there's something happened during the meeting I'm unaware of. No, okay, hearing none there. Brings us to unfinished business. There are no unfinished business items. At least here, got a bunch of them in my life, but that's another story. New business. There are no new business items tonight. At this point, I'd like to invite commissioner or staff, any closing comments? All right, hearing none. That was a quickie. I adjourn this meeting at 7:35, 7:34 p.m.